Joined right here by the little polar bear, spinning around on the main nexus. We're looking inside of the main base of none other than Clem. He's been doing this a lot in 2025 so far. He doesn't like playing Terran versus Terran. Apparently he believes that Protoss versus Terran is a hell of a lot more fun. Well, this time around he's going up against a previous world champion of StarCraft 2. Clem, of course, being the current. With the blue Terran SCVs, he goes by the name of ByuN. This particular best of 5 was recently played in the WardiTV Spring Championships. It's a $5,000 event, meaning that there is a good chunk of change on the line. Clem is not just messing around here, he is seriously playing Protoss. And even though his Terran versus Terran is still excellent, I had a look at this actually recently when I last casted him play Protoss against Terran. His Terran versus Terran, whenever he plays it in tournaments, is still great. He's still winning pretty much every single match. He's just been preferring Protoss versus Terran ever since I think it sort of started around the time of the previous Home Story Cup. So in like December or so of 2024. He's been loving playing Protoss, and he's gotten ridiculously good at it. Now, one theme that you will pretty much always see in Clem's gameplay, at least with the Protoss that I've seen him play, well, in 2025 so far, and I'm hoping we're going to see some variety, but he pretty much always goes Blink Stalker. When you think about it, Blink Stalker is as Terran-focused as you can ever be without actually playing Terran. Like, Blink Stalker is basically Marine Marauder Medevac in a nutshell. So it's powerful, it has a lot of potential, and for an aggressive player like Clem, it does make a lot of sense. Now, there is theoretically a lot of variety. You can go, and this is a bit odd actually, going for the Zealot before anything else. You can go into, for example, Stargate openers. I'm a big fan of, well, Phoenix builds in particular, but Oracle into Phoenix I don't mind. Like, there's a lot of cool stretch you can go for. Clem is quite predictable when it comes to playing the Blinky boys, but this is already a little bit of a switch up. Not something that he usually does. This is commonly done against early game aggression from Terran players. I mean, he should never really be able to kill the SCV that's built in the command center, but that CC was ever so slightly delayed. Let's see. No, SCV moved on over towards the bottom. That's an unfortunate positioning. Jimmy springs into motion. Already an absolute nuisance. He's already being an aggressor. There we go. Twilight Council is indeed going to be his weapon of choice. I'm expecting we're gonna see Blink every game. Oh my god. This base was ever so slightly delayed, and Clem immediately decided to be a nuisance. Now, the CC shouldn't go down. The Adept does make it quite tricky, though. Marine production actually a little bit delayed here from ByuN 2. Additional SCVs have been pulled from the high ground down to the low ground. Some of them will sacrifice themselves just so the command center can live. Zealot has now gone down, serving the Protoss Dominion, though, very nicely. A Hellion will get sniped here. I think the Marines are also going to lose their lives, but at least the command center finished. And that's the only thing that matters. Yeah. Apparently, sometimes structures are more important than units. Don't tell all the units that died for it, but apparently this is how life works. Alright, so the Adepts are going to continue their aggression. How many gateways will Clem go for? It is going to be a triple... No, it's going to be a quadruple gate, it seems. Yes. Straight 4-gate, Blink Stalker, together with a Robo facility. Scout over here from ByuN gets denied, so ByuN cannot figure out how many gateways he's playing against. This is important because in the matchup, generally speaking, we see Protoss players in the current meta go for either 2 or 3 gateways before they expand to a third. This is Clem going straight into 4 gates. A little bit old school. This was very popular a few years back. These days, we usually see less. But with a flying start like this, I can't really blame him. He's gonna put on a lot of pressure. He might still be able to expand behind it. This could be good, though, for ByuN. Okay. 1 is not really what you're looking for, especially not if you lose an SCV. Maybe 2? No, just the 1. All right, let's see. Are we gonna expand behind it? Maybe not. Or maybe not right away. If it's up to Clem, he is ready to blink. Now, he does need to make a pylon. He's very late, actually, with his additional pylon. Well, that's a little unfortunate. He wants to warp in 4 Stalkers here. Now he realizes he's supply blocked. So we'll build up a Nexus instead. Let's just pretend that this was part of the plan all along. Maybe it was. Yeah, no, that's actually the worst timing to hit a supply block. You obviously never want to hit a supply block at high-level StarCraft, but right as you're about to warp in Stalkers is probably the worst. Anyways, that additional pylon just finished up. He needs to make another one at home. There it is. Bunker now is already here, though. Aggressive blink forward. Immediately dies. Picks up the weakened Stalkers. There is a medevac drop in the meantime for ByuN. I thought that that was a bit ambitious, and it turns out it certainly was. Oh, phenomenal micro here. Very good Stalker control. The Prism enabling double blink. Liberator is here. Okay, fair enough. So he hasn't lost the Stalker. Like, that entire fight was flawless for Clem. He does lose a bunch of stuff in the meantime at home. Siege Tank is going to get a shell off, so 1 Stalker does die. Already, though, a Tech Lab has fallen, and ByuN just straight up GG's out. What a game. Next up, we find ourselves on Amygdala. What's really interesting about that previous game is that Clem probably looked at that match as a rather sloppy one. I mean, he played pretty good, don't get me wrong. Pro gamers hold themselves to very high standards. He played pretty good, don't get me wrong, but there was room for improvement. Getting caught off guard with those adepts against a bunch of Marines, just not a quick reaction speed against the Liberator inside of the main base. Like, there were some low-hanging fruits that could have gone better. Now, obviously, the Stalker control was phenomenal. All of the other micro was extremely good too. But I can almost guarantee you that if you talk to Clem about that particular game, he's like, yeah, it's okay. Whatever. I could have done better. Oh, we have another variety here. Yep. I love this. So this is Stalker into Sentry. Stalker into Sentry is a relatively new school build. It's become popular really over the last few months. It's been viable ever since the latest multiplayer balance patch, but because of the energy recharge ability that's now on the Nexus, you can quickly recharge a Sentry, get a whole lot of energy on it, and then scout around the map. Of course, we don't really switch it up too much, though. It's just going to be the good old blink. So ByuN just never really got his feet under him in the previous game. This is going to be a triple barracks, triple command center opener for the Terran. Not a very popular strat generally, although ByuN does play it quite a lot. A lot of other Terran players just don't go for this. It's quite passive, so it allows you a lot of unit production, and you can of course go for aggression, especially when stim is done, but you don't really get any of the, for example, Widowmine drops. You don't get any real early game pressure. It is allowing Terran, or Protoss rather, to do whatever they please. And upon scouting it, pretty much immediately here, Clem decided to go into a 3rd Nexus. So this is a super greedy timing on the 3rd Nexus, but obviously this is something that Clem has played many times, right? Like, he's played the triple CC, triple barracks opener that Terran's going for a lot, and he knows what the best answer against that style is. So even though the 3rd Nexus here would die to a lot of aggression from Terran, apparently Clem is convinced that he can hold whatever pressure is going to come from Clem, or from ByuN here. Man, the fact that Clem is playing Protoss rather than Terran makes me... I trip up over my own words. But you get what I'm trying to say, right? It makes it all a little bit more complex here. For the Frenchman. Should I refer to him as the Frenchman instead? Takes StarCraft and races all away from him. Everybody knows that ByuN is not French. Oui, oui. La vache. Curry. Anyways. Ooh. We're going straight into charge now, together with +1. So this is Clem mostly faking some aggression. I mean, it's real aggression, but he's not really too committed. Gets an SCV, he would have killed the bunker if he was able to. ByuN knows that this is not too committed, but problem is, ByuN doesn't know exactly what's going on. Look at the minimap vision here for ByuN. He doesn't even know where the opponent spawned. He doesn't even know where the Protoss player lives. Well, lucky for him, there's only 2 spawn locations. So that makes the... Through the method of elimination, he can figure out that since he spawned in the top right, his opponent is probably in the bottom left. But, still, He's in the dark, and he doesn't know how committed this Stalker aggression is. At this point, he knows it's not very committed. Is there a third Nexus? Will there be Colossi already out on the other side of the map? Is this a 2-base all-in from the Protoss player? He needs to be safe against everything. And whenever you're safe against everything, usually you're safe against nothing. This is one of the themes in StarCraft. When you try to be safe against everything, usually you just straight up lose in a macro game. And that's kind of what Clem is aiming for. Now, this Terran attack, though, that's headed across the map is dangerous. It is going to be a massive army. Colossi will be very nice to have, but I don't think he's going to be able to finish it up in time. And let's see if maybe this is all a little bit too greedy, because, well, Clem is already going into a 4th Nexus. He does have a Warp Prism out. This is something that MaxPax always does against these sort of attacks, but MaxPax then also definitely loses a whole lot of stuff at home. This Nexus is certainly not going to be living. Not really the goal, though. This Nexus is more or less like the you need to attack me, otherwise you're gonna die type of Nexus. We do need to cancel it, though. He's busy microing in the meantime inside of the main base of the Terran. Okay, Nexus does get cancelled. 300 minerals are returned. 1 Zealot dropped off. 2 Zealots, 3 Zealots in the main base. New Warp in over here, too. This now makes this fight over here from ByuN extremely committed, because he's gonna lose a ton of eco at home. In the meantime, though, this army here for Protoss is just not big enough. Is it? I mean, he's navigating this really nicely. Great force field there, too. I love that force field very much. Anytime that Terran... Oh, he gets the medevac! Anytime he lifts up like that, he loses a lot of momentum. At least some good micro at home as well from ByuN. Minimizing the amount of SCV losses. But my god, is Clem looking strong here. If you're ever settling for a couple Stalker kills, that's nice and all, but that is not going to win you the war. Whew, that was so sick. I actually kind of expected that was going to go horribly wrong from Clem. Because every Protoss player that I see attempt that MaxPax-esque move, where they just drop a bunch of Zealots on the other side of the map and they try to just defend with their reinforcements at home and then micro and all that, usually it goes wrong. Clem restarts the 4th Nexus. He's 20 supply up on his opponent. Zealot drop inside of the main base. Keeps the Prism alive as well. Now targets fire downs a medevac. Gets the kill on it too. New Zealots coming up over here. 3rd Nexus, or 3rd Command Center over here is evacuated. Command Center itself is going to go down. What a game here from Clem. He is not just winning against ByuN. He's destroying him. Playing his off race. Oh, he just dropped. Okay, that's the first time I've seen that. He used the Guardian Shield on the Sentry, but it wasn't in the middle of his army, so he repositioned it using the Prism. And apparently, the Guardian Shield remains. Brilliant set of games here by Clem. Genuinely, that fight when he sent the Prism to the other side of the map and he had like 7 units at home, it's very common for us to see the Prism die with 4 Zealots inside of it, and then the fight over on the other side of the map goes horribly wrong because Terran is not distracted, and then, well, suddenly, you kind of look like a fool. There's about, I want to say 20 moving parts at that point in the game for Protoss. And if one of them goes wrong, you just straight up lose. But if you micro everything pretty much perfectly, well, you find yourself in a really powerful position. It is the type of stuff that top-level Protosses have to do to try and deal with that sort of shenanigans. It almost went wrong, by the way, at the very start. I think Clem should have canceled that Nexus slightly earlier, because it was like a sneeze away, like the 4th Nexus, that is. It was like a sneeze away from going down. I kind of thought at that point that it was going to go all horribly wrong, but he recovered nicely. Okay, so now we find ourselves on Ley Lines. Another one of the maps that has survived the season change. Ultralove and Ley Lines are the only maps that have made it through. Couple Marines are hiding. Oh, that's a cute play here from ByuN. Yeah, so ByuN has recognized that his opponent likes the momentum. And what Clem has been doing so far throughout these games is apply pressure, and then more pressure, and then more pressure, and then eventually you just kind of smother the opponent, right? Like, that's effectively the approach that Clem likes to take. And in a way, he's been stopped now, dead in his tracks. It's not the end of the world by any stretch. But this is a better start for ByuN than what we've seen so far throughout these games. He's hiding the Marines again. Yep, and he gets it again. Cute plays here. So he hides the Marines over there, out of line of sight. When you try to go up a ramp from the low ground and you don't already have high ground vision, you don't see a whole lot. You only see the ramp. So he's using the terrain right there to his advantage. He did the same over here, hiding 3 Marines to the north of the natural. It's once more, though, a triple Rex. Will we see a 3rd command center here in a moment? We probably should. He's only on a single gas geyser this entire time, but he's got an awful lot of unit production, and, well, we do have the Stimpack and Combat Shields research finishing up early. And this is a very different style of Terran now. It all looks quite similar, but this is gonna hit way sooner. And this might be the type of stuff... Oh. Yeah. This is the type of stuff that I don't think Clem has as much practice against. This is a pretty old school way of playing. And that just may be the type of stuff that you can catch him off guard with. But whenever you're relying on, like, you know, almost like a trick, which is definitely what ByuN is trying to aim for here, it's going to be a really nice win, at least when you look at the scoreboard, but it does kind of feel like copium, you know? We're like, well, I guess maybe if I go for something he doesn't know, then maybe I can win. I mean, still, great strategic decision here by the South Korean Terran. Yeah, this is way too much damage. Way too much damage dealt here. It's been a quick 3rd command center, or 3rd nexus, by the way. My God, those Marines and those Marauders, they've got some value, huh? Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. This shouldn't be recoverable, but obviously that was the entirety of the Terran army. I don't know if the Marines and the Marauders knew, but that was a one-way trip. They were just there to maximize damage. And that does mean that Clem now gets to do whatever he likes for the next few minutes. He does still have 3 Nexi. He can actually catch up quite quickly as far as the worker count goes. It does, of course, cut into his unit production here. Bunker at the front is critical. 3rd command center is late, of course, in a game like this. Well, ByuN has got everything he would ever need. Beautiful. Snipes the Observer too. This is another one of those reasons, by the way, that we do see a lot of those quick sentry builds these days. So the energy recharge just allows you to scout this sort of thing much earlier. You're always dealing with limited information, so the more scouting intel you can get, the better. ByuN has got an army here to try and see if he can finish the game. Medevacs are just about to join the battlefield. He's gone for Barracks 4 and 5. 3rd command center right now, most of the way done. At this point, what are Protoss' real follow-ups? Well, either you can try and cut your losses going to Colossi or something along those lines, or you can try and play the Gateway style, where you just go mass Gateway and you try to almost like Zerk the Terran player with Protoss. Anyway, it's all a little bit desperate. Maybe some force fields to try and slow down the advancing army. That could be nice. If Clem can buy enough time, he might be able to crawl his way back into this. ByuN now playing it very conservatively, though. I would have taken my entire army and stimped straight in that direction. And I think at that point the game would be over, if I'm being honest with you. But ByuN also knows that this is his tournament life actually on the line. This was played in the playoffs of the Spring Championship. So, you know, you better not lose. I'm very good at losing games that I have already won. It's one of my specialties. Good stutter step. Force field here a little bit annoying, but he walks around it. Uses it against those zealots. That Immortal is good though. Would love to see a medevac boost forward to try and save some of those units. You know what? Clem is kind of making this work. After such a terrible start here, this is actually not even the end of the world. Problem is though, of course, at least for Clem, that there is now a 3rd command center mining, right? He's gone into a 2nd NG bay. Armory is coming up. I mean, if Clem can stabilize properly, he could micro his way back into this. Okay. You know, this is the type of thing where you go for Dark Templar or something, right? Like, this is... the age-old adage still goes, when behind Dark Shrine. You can put that on my tombstone, okay? When behind Dark Shrine. Those are words to live by. And apparently die by, too. Highly recommend. Honestly, though, it still works, right? Like, there's going to be a limited amount of command centers with an opener like this. Not a whole lot of scans. If he's got the time, I wouldn't be surprised to see it going down. Clem, though, decides to fight fire with fire. And he's engaging this Terran player head on. Couple zealots here to be a nuisance. That bunker never was salvaged. I actually quite like that. Colossus is available now. You know what? These Colossi are extremely annoying. Good micro there against the Widow Mines. Good retargeting as well, though, by ByuN. Manually controlling the mines. Range for the Colossi is coming up. Fourth Nexus is building for Clem. Okay, he's dealt with the Zealot run by very well. And ByuN is actually making all the right moves. Yeah, he's just playing it very safely. Maybe a little overly safe. But if this is what it takes, this is what it takes. The only little caveat there is that as the game progresses, generally, the Protoss army becomes way harder to destroy. And ByuN knows it. ByuN knows that he's going to have a difficult time dealing with, like, say there's given more time, he needs to deal with Dark Templar all of a sudden, or like High Templar with Storm. Maybe there's going to be Archons in the mix. You need a better army of your own. So, Ghost Academy is coming up. Fourth Command Center is building. Okay, he's preparing to play a long game. He's still very, very far ahead. At least as far as the army size goes. But he's respecting Clem enough as a Protoss player to not be taking any chances. Let's see. This is, by the way, gotta be terrible, right? If you're ByuN and, like, you know, losing to your opponent's off race. Like, that's... it's gotta hurt. Like, not only is Clem one of your main competitors for things like, you know, tournament wins, but then losing to his freaking off race? Seriously? That doesn't even sound fair. Like, that's gotta be... that's gotta sting. I think Clem, or I think ByuN rather, won the World Cup in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. How old was Clem at that point? He was definitely watching from home. That's the worst part about it too, I think. There's a very good chance that at the time, Clem was a gigantic ByuN fanboy. Here's the army though for Clem. He's been able to muster this force up. Whoa, big EMP. Okay, that EMP was really good. He did not expect ghosts yet. All of the shields, energy, everything's gone, man. Suddenly this Terran army's on the prowl. Okay, all right. GG. That seals it. Next up, we find ourselves on Scentworm. This is a map with a chicane in the middle of the map. But apparently, the Reaper can cut the corner. I know. I mean, we have all these beautiful teeth in the middle of the map. Reapers just do not care. Okay, so already, do we not have any cheekiness here from ByuN? I don't know if he wants to go for a similar build again, or if he's back to playing against Clem's Protoss straight up. But at least we don't have anything weird compared to, like, the second and the third game in this particular matchup. We'll have to see exactly what his plan is. Keep in mind that in the previous game, he managed to, like, for example, catch his opponent's very first Adepts. That kind of hurt. And obviously all the follow-ups were also just kind of annoying. No surprise here for Clem. He decides to go into the Twilight Council. This is one of the guarantees in life. Death, taxes, and Clem playing Twilight Council when he goes Protoss. Really no way to avoid any of those things. Now this is a Cyclone. Cyclone's really good at shutting down early game Adept aggression. That Shade was kind of cute. But I don't believe it's going to be enough. Nope. This is why I like Cyclones in general. Cyclone builds in the early game of TVP are really, really annoying for Protoss to deal with. Mostly because of the fact that the Cyclone can just snipe. Not only Adepts, but also, like, for example, Oracle openers. Maybe that's why he's not going for it. Any sort of Stargate build in general is much easier to counter with a Cyclone. But, yeah, since Clem is not likely to go Cyclone, he decides to go into the good old Twilight Council, of course. I think he's just happy to lose the one Adept. Okay. Cloaking Field for Banshees. So ByuN wants to at the very least be aggressive here in the earlier stages of this game. It is technically a little bit of a risk because you never really know exactly how much you're going to do. And I don't think Clem is really going to be too bothered by early game multitasking. He's already he's expecting some sort of potential like Widowmine drop or something along those lines. Not uncommon, of course. It's going to be a Cloaked Banshee instead. And this might just be around the time that the Protoss player will pull the units away. Yeah. He could pull the units away as soon as he thinks he's no longer going to be dealing with an early game medevac drop. Sometimes these little anti-timings can actually be quite annoying. Quick charge on the back of this. Clem now forced to play defensively though. And this is not really something we've seen him have to deal with all too much yet throughout these games. I mean, the last game obviously was very aggressive from ByuN and he just dealt a stupid amount of damage early on. And that kind of forced Clem's hand, but now he's playing a straight-up macro game, but because of this build here from ByuN, he needs to be playing more defensively. He can't just send all of those Stalkers to the other side of the map. And, yeah, hope for the best. Okay, so that means we're gonna see the third Nexus mine. Twilight Council together with Charge. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Robo Bay in a moment. ByuN transitioning towards a good old bio army. Not really following it up with anything weird. I think the two Banshees were spotted just now. But two Banshees are always going to be a nuisance since they can, when they fire at the same time, they can one-shot workers anyway. He is going to go for shield batteries and all the mineral lines, but still going to be a bit tricky. Yeah, Observer has been planted in the main base too, so this is all here, so any sort of Banshee harassment can at least be dealt with. Additional gateways building. +1 infantry attacks coming up here for ByuN. Stimpack, I'm expecting combat shields. There it is. The holy trinity of Terran upgrades. Clem knows about it. And I think he must have also spotted the timing of those upgrades starting. So he knows how much time he's got, and yeah, he's going to use that right now to his advantage. Go into the Robo Bay, get the Colossus production going. Observer already spotted this. Quick reaction speed as well from ByuN. So interestingly enough, we're now 6.5 minutes in. I'm pretty sure some of the previous games were over at this point. But this is both players basically just, you know, sometimes you see like the opening of like a boxing match and they're just kind of throwing fake punches at each other. This is basically that. Just kind of pawing at each other, trying to, yeah, deal a little bit of damage, but you back off, and now it's my turn to be aggressive. We're just kind of building it up. Okay. Observer is going to get sniped. That's a bit annoying. Maybe this now opens up the opportunity for the Banshees to go in. There is still another Observer, but it's all the way on the other side of the map. Still, though, ByuN doesn't know. He had the perfect opportunity to actually jump in there and get some value with the Banshees that he made. Not going to happen, though. He decides to give his opponent the benefit of the doubt and assume that there is another one. Instead, he wants to use them either in like combination with his main army or when the Protoss player is dealing with the main army. Big attack, though, coming in. Clem knows about the positioning of the units now. He's got an Immortal in the mix. One Colossus has just appeared. He decides to just jump this army. Blinks aggressively forward, gets the siege tanks to charge on top of the... Or the siege tanks to charge. The Zealots, rather, to charge on top of the siege tanks. Recall right now with some of the reinforcing units. I would imagine it's the Observer. Yeah, that makes sense. Make sure that the Banshee is over here. Already thinking about building that Nexus on the low ground. This is a Nexus that is not mineable right at the very start, so you can build the base in the perfect position, but you have to come back and destroy the rocks. Fun little new mechanic that some of the map makers have been working on. So you can take the Nexus and you can get the golden minerals, but you do not have the opportunity to just be aggressive the entire way through. This is a Colossus, by the way, without range. There is no prism available. There is an observer with this army, but there's a lot of things that can go horribly wrong. Clem, though, believes that he's got an opportunity to deal real damage, but this could backfire really rapidly. I wouldn't mind it if he goes home. I honestly feel like he's dancing with death here. It's very risky. Well, he's delaying this command center, and apparently that may be worth it, but not if you end up losing your entire army. This is apparently the moment that ByuN's been waiting for. Activates the stim pack. He's got a couple Vikings here too, throwing shots at the Colossus whenever available. Reinforcing Colossus just popped out too, and that one is gonna come in from the wrong angle. Little slip up right there by the Frenchman. Okay, all of the Vikings have been killed. Banshee still chasing down the Colossus. Command Center now settles for the golden mineral line too. Okay, the extra Colossus also does fall. This Nexus now is being mined from the wrong side. I think Clem should have gone home. In hindsight, he got a little bit too aggressive, but he also dealt some damage on the other side of the map. Yeah. Slowing down that third base for Terran, right? Forcing it to not only cancel the orbital, but then fly all the way over here. It does slow everything down a ton. So, the rocks over here are now gone. Same with the rocks over on the other side of the map. They will soon... Look, he's helping. They will soon be gone as well. A couple zealots here taking lunch. Alright. Ultimately, though, this is now Terran on 3 bases. Protoss on 4. Once more, there's a lot of choke points here, right? So this map in general, just not an easy one for Terran to control all of those units. Colossus is having a grand old time as these, well, these teeth, right? The Scentworm teeth, I don't know what they are, but these spikes coming out of the ground, making it difficult for this Terran army to really maneuver in between. And the Colossus, with such a long range, doesn't really have to struggle with any of that. Nice force field as well to try and get some more value, although it does have to go all the way around. +3 ground coming up, +1 armor, just about to finish. That's very late in comparison. No planetary fortress, of course, on this base. Stalker here, trying to force the Unburrow or the Blink. Zealot there sacrifices itself for the Widow Mine. There is a single Ghost now available. That is exactly why Clem was angling his army backwards. He's trying to bait out the EMP. ByuN wants to land the EMP from the Ghost on all of the clumped up units, specifically the Zealots. What a dance. Lovely Colossus micro, actually. Which is funny, because that's also what she's... No, okay, sorry. Okay. The dance continues, though, and the base is taking damage. A lot of the SCVs are very vulnerable, too. ByuN decides to pull them into the fight. Sends them back, though, to repair. Couple Zealots going around the site. A lot of very low HP Terran units now. Medevacs are without energy, so they can't really heal these troops back up to full. These fights have been going on for such a long time, though. Generally, we see Protoss is backing up a little sooner. Finally, some proper EMPs on that army. Reinforcing group of Zealots also shows up. That Viking, or that Colossus, or the Banshee, that's what the unit is called. Still chipping away, too, from the early game. It's targeting the Colossus. No more detection available. Might just be the hero that ByuN needs. The rest of the army, though, is running. Zealots trying to see if they can avoid some of the damage there. Hero Banshee does complete the job. And with the Colossus down, apparently Clem decides to move back for just a second. Another Colossus miss, really. Honestly, quite a sloppy game here for Clem standards. But it may still be winnable. Like, honestly, I'm not minding this position for him. These fights have been so long that Terran just runs out of energy on the medevacs, and they have just... Well, every stim becomes so costly. During all of this, by the way, ByuN has stopped upgrading. So he's only got a single NG bay, whereas on the other side of the map, +3 ground, and then also +2 armor are just about to finish. So I think Clem will be happy to continue this dance. He's got 68 workers versus 47 SCVs. Obviously, he doesn't know that. He's building the 5th Nexus too. I mean, it's a big power spike for the Protoss army. Still, there's only a single Ghost, but it can put in a lot of damage. It can effectively soften up about half of the HP there of all of those Protoss units. And those choke points are great for the Colossi, but likewise, of course, also for, well, spells like EMP. Dude, Protoss never gets played like this. It's so sick. I wonder if it's an overextension, though. I think it might just be. Some of the units do slip away again. Colossus still alive. Microed backwards. Keep in mind, he ran 2 of them to their deaths. Like, 2 of them were misrally. Imagine this army, but then with +2 Colossi. I think actually Terran would be dead at that point. I don't think you can actually hold that. He's still just rallying as many units as possible. He's built a second robo facility too. So Clem is now pumping out the Colossi 2 at a time. Rather than saving them up, we're just building more and more. ByuN trying to save some of the weakened units as well by popping them inside of the Medevacs for just a moment. Microing the army backwards. Medevac just do not have a lot of time to regen energy. GG! This last game was a dirty one. And also, I can guarantee you for ByuN, a very frustrating one. Game number 1 and 2, they were clean, right? They were very well played with Protoss. This was a game where Clem microed really well, but he made some sloppy mistakes. Genuinely, imagine if he was on top of the rally point of his robo facility a little bit better. And he wouldn't have just sent a couple of those Colossi walking into the Terran's army. I mean, this would have been absolute domination. Turns out he doesn't even need all of that. GG gets called. He obtains the victory 3-1.